and you really don't feel like it, one way of applying discipline is by sort of employing discipline throughout the whole journey of working on this task. And I like to visualize this like a hill. And the task is a boulder that you've got. And discipline is where you're like trying to roll the boulder up the hill. And you're like, oh, I don't like doing this, but I'm just going to keep rolling the boulder up the hill. I'm going to roll the boulder up the hill, and I'm going to eventually get the boulder to the top of the hill. Now, this is a very stressful place to be, right? Because you spent all this energy and all this effort rolling this boulder all the way up the hill. And then hopefully you get it to the other end and the project goes over the line. Or often more likely, the boulder just comes rolling back down like Sisyphus in the Greek myth, I think it is. And you have to roll the boulder up the hill again. This is not a good way to live. Instead, the way that I think of things is that really the goal should be to make the work feel so good that it doesn't feel like you're rolling the boulder up the hill, but instead it genuinely feels like the boulder's rolling down the hill. When something feels good and when you enjoy whatever you're doing, you don't need to rely on discipline so much. However, unfortunately, this is a pipe dream because we can't do that with everything, and at some point we have to do things that are hard, and some things are just boring and all that kind of stuff. So, the thing I add to this mental model is that there is a little hump. There's like a hump before you start to go downhill. And so you always have to do a little bit of a push. It takes a small dose of discipline to get the boulder beyond the hump, and then once it's beyond the hump, if you start enjoying the process, that's when the thing starts to go downhill. And I think really that is the area where we should be employing all of these strategies around discipline. It's in getting that boulder a little bit over the hump. Now, over the last couple of years, I have been interviewing a bunch of people on my podcast and meeting a bunch of people in real life. And one of the people I had the privilege of meeting a few months ago when I was in Austin is a chap called Ryan Holiday, who is the mega best-selling author of this book, Discipline is Destiny. But Ryan is also ridiculously prolific as a writer and has written a dozen or something books, mostly about Stoicism over the last 10 years or so. And one of the things I really admire about Ryan is that he's very disciplined and seems to be very consistent at doing stuff, and also seems to enjoy the stuff, and is also a dad with kids, and seems to have just like a really happy life, and he's in good shape. And so he seems to be winning across all fronts. He owns a bookshop. I visited his bookshop. He's got a studio attached to the bookshop. It's super cool. He's got a team. And a big part of the interview was me trying to ask Ryan, like, hey man, how have you been doing this writing thing consistently for such a long time?
I'm curious for you, like, you're presumably planning to write more books, but like,